Hello to all suffering addicts, and hello to all the people who have found sanity in the recovery lifestyle. In this episode of Stories of Addiction, I will be talking to Blake about his addiction and his recovery from addiction. Blake is a client at the Galt House Sober Living Environment in Santa Cruz, California. He is 26 years old, and his drug of choice were all forms of opiates. Blake is from Concord, California, and he has 95 days clean today. Hey Blake, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us here this evening. So why don't you start us out by talking about how your addiction began?
So my addiction began, I always kind of dabbled with drugs, always been curious with drugs and alcohol, growing up in an alcoholic family. I've always seen my dad drinking from as far back as I can remember. And I first became curious with alcohol and drugs around the time that my parents got divorced. Alcohol appeared to be the stem of all the problems that kind of tore the relationship apart. And it caused a lot of issues. So I was really curious of why someone might choose to drink regardless of all of the consequences that were apparent. So in middle school was my experience with my first beverage. It was a tequila mixer for margarita, and I just drank it lukewarm. And I enjoyed how it felt. Me and my buddies, we drank it and then went out and just partook in some shenanigans. And from then on, it was about a weekend thing, going out drinking. And then the following year, tried marijuana for the first time. And that one took me a little while. I didn't care for it too much, but yet, I had to keep on trying until I did. So in high school, I was a wake and baker every day. Leave on lunches, miss school, always smoking pot. Dabbled with ecstasy, cocaine, basically anything I could get my hands on in high school. And that was more of a social thing. But I definitely enjoyed altering my state of mind and altering how I felt. Actually, before I tried my first hit of marijuana, I remember this very vividly. I was on a bike trail. I used to do a lot of mountain biking. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I wish there was something that I can take that just made me feel good. And I just remember that so clearly. And that once I found opiates, which I found that in high school, my stepdad, he had Norco, the little yellow Norcos, and I would steal those from him. And I remember the first time I took him, that thinking back to that time on the bike trail, that's exactly what I had made up in my mind of what the perfect drug for me would be. So I continued taking opiates and whatever I could get my hands on in high school. And outside of high school, I joined the Carpenters Union. So I was making good money, and I would be sore and tired after a long week of working. And that's when I moved to Oxys. It completely relieved my aches and pains. It made me content. That was just my favorite way of relaxing after a long, hard week of work. And since I was doing hard manual labor, I felt, I deserve it.